God, as we come to you today, having to make decisions for the people of Swain County, we give you thanks for empowering us mentally and physically to do so. We ask that you will be with us and sit with us while we go through this process. We hope and pray that we can listen to your voice. As we meet now, please be with us. In the name of your Son, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Face the flag, please. Join with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Did you want to go through first?
Yeah, so we want to do the special session first?
Yes.
See
Yes, let's do
so-
that.
Okay. You have a budget amendment in front of you right here. And we did just get the bids in for one of them. So the first one, the Beasley flooring roof, we just needed to discuss this to see if we wanted to proceed. Did get two proposals in. One from WNC Roofing, and that proposal was for $243,750 actually. And the second one was for Bonnets Company of the Carolinas and Tennessee, and they're located out of Asheville, North Carolina. And that one is $138,000.
Big difference.
Big difference. And so what this is going to include is, and they were both kind of comparable, remove the existing stone ballast, install a 1.5 inch ISO cover board, put down new TPO, which is your membrane, and then new metal edge all around the sides, flush all the walls, pipes, and curbs, and it comes with a 20-year warranty. So that is in that proposal. And then the only note here is that the owner will provide a place to dump the stone, which will get all the stone off the top and reuse it in other locations. So that's the number one, the Beasley flooring roof. The second one is for the middle school cafeteria plumbing issue that we've been looking at over the last couple months, and we got R&M engineers out of Waynesville to do an assessment, and they have come back, and actually the bids were open about an hour ago. They invited 4 different bidders. They only got one bidder, which is H&M Construction, and the price on it is $200,444 for that project. So with that said, I would recommend both. One, Bonnets Company be awarded the bid for the roofing at the Beasley flooring building, which the county owns. And the second one, I would recommend H&M Constructors to get the bid at the Swain County Middle School cafeteria project for $200,444. The two different revenue sources, one is the school capital reserve for the $200,444, and for the Beasley flooring appropriated fund balance of $138,000 for a total amount of $338,444.
Who did you say is doing the roof? Bonnets?
Bonnets, B-O-N-I-T-Z.
That's an old company.
Okay. I was
Yeah,
just
they're-
going to
I
ask.
worked around them.
They're a big.
Somebody you
they're-
know that's reputable. Okay.
Oh yeah, they've done multiple projects for us before.
Oh, okay. Good.
At
So
one
it's-
time, they were probably the only flat roofing people around here.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, good.
Yeah, they're a big company
Never
out of
heard of them.
the Carolinas and Tennessee. So
That's good. So you know them.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that sounds
most
good.
definitely. So
Mr. Chairman, I have a question as well. We only had one bid, you said, on the middle school plumbing project.
Correct.
Does that, I'm gonna rely on someone else's expertise, does that sound like an appropriate amount for the project that they're having to do? $200,000 seems
Yeah.
like a lot of money for a plumbing project.
So Steve Kaufman, who has done, he's the one at R&M that did the assessment. And his drawings that he did, I think he charged us $30,000 roughly. If you look based on just his drawing number, the amount of the project, what it should be, roughly, usually it's about 8%. So 8% of the project. So if you take that down, what is that? Roughly 10.
Well, 10%.
So it'll be, it would be just about right. Probably about 250,000 is what he had estimated to begin with, to get that number, what he projected. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I think 200,000 is good for what his initial projection was. I have not been directly involved in the negotiation process. That's more been with the school. But this is a very, very time-sensitive matter, because they have only a 2-month window to get this stuff done. And so this was the reason. Also, it might have gotten a little bit more because of the time sensitivity, because they have only got 2 months to work it out. And so they are requesting us to do, to go ahead and award the bid and get things going where they can get done the last day of school. They'll be moving in, because it's going to take the entire summer to get it done. So.
Will that be in the contract
Yes.
to have that done?
Yep. Yep.
We discussed a little bit among ourselves at some other points, like maybe sometimes these time-sensitive issues, we need to make sure we have
Yeah.
that contained in contracts.
Yeah.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any other questions? I would just ask Kevin, from a legislative standpoint or a legal standpoint, the certification of this amendment for today, a regular session? We're not in a regular session.
No, but we did say we were going to award the bid today, and
In the last session?
yeah, and you can do a budget amendments in any meeting you have. It's not-
I understand that we can, but the wording either needs to say that we were in a special session.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Is
okay.
that what it says? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it says regular session, and I'm saying we need to amend that to,
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
to a special meeting.
Yep. I just actually printed this out about 10 minutes ago.
Sure, no, I understand.
Kind of quick, sorry.
Well, I'm still trying to play catch-up in my mind, being late today, so.
Yeah, so I'll change that to, and this will be as the clerk certifies it, I certify the Swain County Board of Commissioners in a special session approve this budget amendment on May 18th, 2021.
That would work,
Okay.
as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Okay? All right. And I think we'll just accept that as amended. And, okay, so what's your pleasure, commissioners?
I make a motion we approve, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Need a second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the Swain County Budget Amendment number 7. All in favor, raise your right hand. So done. Unanimous for those present. Now that we've approved it, let me back up and ask a question on the roof, on the roof of the building. Do we have a time frame? Do we know when that will be done?
As quick as we approve this, actually, I'm gonna call them today
Okay.
and get them going on it. Because material prices are fluctuating
Right.
pretty much daily.
Yeah,
So they wanted to know just as quickly as possible if they got awarded or not.
okay,
So I'm gonna call them, and I'm sure they'll get on it as quick as they can, because they want that, you know,
right,
they're not gonna tarry too much.
okay, good, thank you. Okay. Next item?
You may want to adjourn this. This is all in a special session. That was it. So if you want.
That was it?
Yeah.
Okay,
So if you want to adjourn this one and then come back in a work session for the budget, that's fine. Or however you want to proceed.
okay. You've heard the recommendation and I agree. I need a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the special
Okay,
session.
we have a motion on the floor to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor to adjourn. Any questions, comments, anything? If not, then all in favor, raise your right hand. Passed unanimously with those in attendance. We have the tax report with the changed numbers. Okay. Okay,
Okay, so I guess this is a start off, or not start off, but.
oh, I guess we can call us back into session.
Oh, okay.
So, as chair of the board, I will call us back into session to deal with some of the problems that we have today, or other concerns, not problems, but concerns. And then I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. So on the budget, this is just a budget meeting. Just to kind of tie up some loose ends before I submit the budget document to y'all. One was we had some discussion about the in-home aid program, moving them into more of a sanitary / custodial type of position. And my recommendation would be to start September 1st.
Okay.
That'll give 60 days after the beginning of the fiscal year to kind of work with the clients that are still in the program and, transition them to another provider, or allow that move. We'll still have a job with the county moving forward, so they won't lose any of their benefits or anything like that, which that goes back to the promise I think that was made years ago as far as keeping them as staff. So that's what I would like to do. We can utilize some federal funding for the cleaning and things like that, so I think would be a good process. So once the budget has been approved, we will kind of go ahead and get with those folks and have some meetings with them and kind of tell them this is how we're going to be proceeding. We'll move one of those positions to a chore program, which we've got some funding coming in. So there will only be 4 people that are affected. And like I say, if we can transition those folks with their clients to a different agency, that's fine. Or if they don't want to do that, we can, like I say, utilize them in custodial staff, still retain their benefits and retirement and things like that. So that's kind of where we are. And that's what's going to be recommended in the budget as well.
Okay.
As far as, so during this budget process, we've talked to me about a lot of different things about, for instance, the STEP plan, working through that process. Not heard any feedback, I guess, from that standpoint, if we're going to keep it in. Right now, and all of this, of course, is dependent upon revenue. Right now, with the projection of the tax office and adding back in the public utility, which is billed separately, we're standing about 1.86 billion on valuation. So it fits within the parameter of what I had said earlier, about we need at least 1.8. So we're about 68 million above that currently. And I don't anticipate it going down much more than that.
Could you give me that number one more time?
1.868 billion. So, and then our factor will keep the rate the same at 36 cents per hundred, which will be the number that's projected within the budget document. And also, we have to multiply by that, then multiply it by the collection rate for last year, which is right at 97%. So by the time you do all that, that's what's in the budget document. So based on that, going back to the what's in the budget. So what's in the budget is the step plan, and we'll have certain documents with the step plan to kind of put it in verbal format to put in our personnel policy at the same time, to where future boards will have the policy in the plan, and it's in more of an in writing format, basically. Talking about, you know, if you're a supervisor, it's going to be 4 steps higher than your subordinate, a lot of different parameters around that same scenario. So I'll have all that documentation going in at the same time with the budget document. So with that, and then we've had an increase in our health insurance a little bit of increase in retirement, which is all in the budget. Putting in the different programs, we've got animal control going in effective July 1st. We have the eight other positions that we're putting in. One, soil erosion. We've got some environmental health. Of course, the 2 new animal control officers, 2 paramedics, and 2 dispatchers.
How many new positions, and when I say new, I mean not been filled before?
8.
8 in this budget, okay.
8, yep. And then also in the budget capital-wise, we have the courthouse project. We have several new vehicles. We have the HVAC system for this building in the budget. So that's pretty much all right now. In the going back to salary one time, if a person just this first year, I'm recommending the step plan. But if nobody moved, if they didn't move up, it's $500. So everybody will at least get $500. So it was a step plan or no less than the COLA, which is $500. So is what's been recommended. Now going back to the revenue sources. So the fee structure, which y'all have copies of all this
Right.
here. So I took out of the fees for sanitation, we took out that entire last section. There's a big red section here. We took out all of that. Everything else remained as is, as you had it the last time. There was no changes. I gave you, for instance, if you look at this sheet, Kenneth had actually asked me about this, to give him for instance, of how much fees for a house. So, for instance, this is a 3-bedroom, 1,800 square foot home. Soil erosion would be $100. Then you go for your well and your septic, and then your code enforcement, which is building inspections, for a total fee of $1,925. Based on 1,800 square feet, is roughly $200,000 house. So you're looking at 1%, roughly 1% of the cost is for code enforcement and all the fees necessary to make your home, safe. And then if you want to go on to the fee structure itself, which is the 3 pages here. That'll be front and back. Starting out with the EMS fees at the top. None of that changed from the previous version. On the emergency medical services or the animal control fees, we did go back and update on the back of page 1, the building code enforcement. Wanted to make this a little bit more simpler and a little bit more equitable. So, my proposal for a single-family dwelling is 50 cents per square foot. So if you did have that 1,800 square foot home, that would cost $900. If you had a 1,000 square foot home, it would be $500. If 2,000 square feet would be $1,000. So that made more sense to me to do it based on, because an inspector, it takes longer to go through a bigger house than a smaller house. And so this actually is more equitable across the board. The bigger house you got, the more time it's gonna take that inspector on site. So therefore, it should be done by square footage. And these are just 3 examples. I just put in the 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 as examples of what it would be like. But it would be multiplied out by the square footage. And then all the rest of the fees down through there were different, were the same. Just these were a little bit different.
I got one question.
Yep.
These fees, can our fees be changed on the system we got? Inspection department?
I hope so. If not, there'll be a lot of manual calculations.
That's what I'm saying, 'cause I don't know.
But, you know, this will be easy manually done.
It'll be easy manually done, yeah. But,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know, so.
Yeah. I don't know that answer. And
Some
that'll be
reason
a
I
whole-
think we can't unless whoever's got a hold of the system now knows a back door that I don't know
Right. We'll have to work through that.
Okay.
We'll figure it out. The only other thing in there, and I think we should just put it this way, which is not in here, when I just realized it, is the commercial fee. I think needs to be the same rate. So if you had a 30,000 square foot building, your fee should be $15,000 for inspection fees. So just make it across the board, 50 cents per foot.
Yeah.
So,
Do they spend more time on commercial than they do residential, or is it?
per foot, what do you think?
Commercial's got a lot more components to it.
I start saying, commercial is usually a little higher than residential, isn't it?
We can set it higher if
It
y'all
does
would
have
like.
more components to it.
I'm just thinking time-wise, you'd be spending a little more time. Of course,
It's according to how
most
big it is.
commercial is
It's the
bigger.
size.
Let's-
Yeah.
We'll put a placeholder in that, and let me check with Bill on what, I didn't ask him about the commercial rate, but you're right. I think that we need to look at it before we.
Might be a little higher than residential, just to,
Makes sense.
And it's set up right now higher.
yeah, I
In
figured.
the system, it's higher right now,
Yeah.
Okay.
so.
So I'll check with Bill. I didn't even check on that. Let me work on that, and then when we come back with the budget, we'll talk about it again. And then I went over the fees with Allison on the environmental health fees and on-site wastewater, and we changed. We didn't change anything with the testing or the wells, but then the on-site we did. And we did it based on, so we started with 2-bedroom at $450, and then went up $100 per bedroom. And this is just a more advanced, system. The bigger you get, the more in depth it is. So the same rationale we did with the building inspection. So it'd be $550 for 3-bedroom, $650 for 4-bedroom, $750 for 5-bedroom, and then for every bedroom over 5, it's $100 more per bedroom. So, and then we went down through here. There was some little bit of discussion about at the meeting about why we had no or not applicable on a lot of these. Brent actually came back and said these would suffice as far as the fees. I think there was some discussion about. I think it was back on the wells where it was talking about the camera test. So I was right. The state has a camera that they bring in, okay, and the state actually does the thing. But if the homeowner wants our folks there on site to look at the camera, you know, it could take an hour or 2 hours to do that, and that's why the fee. It's just a fee for them to come out and consult on what they see. But they could also get the state to come in and do it, and it's no, you know, it wouldn't be any fee to them. I think it was some of Kenneth's questions about why, if we had a camera, we do not have a camera, and we're not getting a camera. But if they want us to come out with somebody that's doing the test, we'd charge them for that.
So the homeowner, am I understanding correctly, the homeowner has the choice of a camera or no camera inspection?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of times that has to do with, I mean, if something's happened to your well and you have things shift underground, and if they send a camera down and, like a rock is protruding or whatever, then the camera would pick it up and show what's going on. That's what they're talking about. Mostly. So.
On that annual report pre-treatment system, what is that?
So these are for the advanced level systems, and every 7 years this would be charged. It's not a yearly thing. It's more of it's every 7 years, and these are for big systems like NOC has a treatment system, or Mystic Land I think has one. There's a Collins Creek has one. There's a few systems that have specialized systems that's set up by the state, and in order to do the reports, it's a pretty detailed report that our folks have to review, and so it takes a lot of time. So a lot of these fees were based off of time it takes people to do them.
But on that one, we didn't have a fee before?
No, but yeah, Brent said we should have
Yeah.
had a fee. It just never was set up that way. So we went back and forth, me and Allison and Brent kind of come up with this fee schedule to kind of match what we're going to be doing. So. Anyway, those are the only changes as far as from our last meeting to now. We left the animal control the same, and like I said before, it is a little bit higher, but this is a new program, so when we get into it, we can start looking at it, and if we need to tweak it later on, we can bring back recommendations to y'all. So. That's really all I had, as far as the budget itself. And we can go back over, on your budget ordinance. I don't think there was many questions at one of the last meetings. I think it was, do y'all have specific questions that we were in to discuss? And we can always do it when I bring the budget back, but, it's in entirety and that sort of thing. So like soil erosion, and we are talking, and when we do the soil erosion ordinance, there's going to be a mechanism to where no other permits will be issued until they get the permit from soil erosion. So no more well inspections or anything until this paperwork is done on the initial assessment. At that point, if they're not, and we'll have to be kind of specific, if their intention is just to get a well or just to get a septic approval or a layout, and their intention is not to disturb property, then there may be a different fee structure just for that, because if they're not moving anything, they just need the permit or a permit. And then once that happens, we actually can log it in a system and have it, and then when they come back and say, okay, well, now I'm ready for I'm gonna actually do a well, when they actually do something, then that triggers the well folks to say, okay, well, now they want to do something, you have to go back out there, the soil erosion, and that's when the fee would be triggered. But all that's gonna have to happen within the ordinance itself. So when we get to that point, and we're working on the ordinance now, so. I think what else is in there? So this will be the first year I didn't appropriate anything to solid waste because of the fee structure. And I think everything's gonna go good with that. We are working with the new software that the TDA purchased for compliance software. We've got it going, and we're finding out people that have not been complying with their occupancy tax. Now we're also looking at the solid waste fee. So we are needing to, there's about 700 people that are not paying for what they should.
That's a lot.
So, at this point.
Yeah. How do you enforce that? Is the state the state will enforce it?
No, we have to enforce it. So what we'll do is once we catalog who it is, we'll just add it to their tax bill on the solid waste piece.
Oh, yeah, but I'm
Yeah.
talking about the room tax
No.
piece. Is the state? has to
So
enforce
we
that?
get paid 3% of the entire collection for a person in finance. And, you know, that person is in charge of all the collection fees. If we have a problem with people not paying, or we identify people, we send them notices, and then if they don't pay after that, we get an attorney involved. Yeah, we've sued people, I don't know, we've had several suits.
But part of it's a state tax.
The state tax is different. They send it to the state of North Carolina. We don't have anything to do with that
But
part.
the state will step in and collect their part.
Yeah.
Is there any, excuse me, Danny, but is there any way to juxtaposition these people that we're questioning with the state? Are they getting any money? Is the state getting any money for this? Or how would we go about making sure the state, I would think, would have more authority and more power in collecting than we would? And
So the way it works, we're the one, or y'all are the ones that levied the tax. So it's up to that organization to make sure they collect it. And the way we do it, like with real estate taxes, for instance, we can garnish wages, we can do the debt set-off program, which collects people's income tax returns before they get them. There's other methods that can be employed. We can use the same methods that we do with real estate. We can do the same thing with occupancy. Any tax that we levy, we have the authority to make sure it's paid.
to collect in
To
whatever
collect,
manner.
yeah. Yeah, the state will not step in on our behalf because
Right.
we're a different taxing authority.
I understand that. My question involved those that we get that say that they're not paying and ought to be paying. How do we or how do we double check that to make sure that it's right?
There's really no way, because unless you looked at their books, like, and I know we have a couple people that's paid room taxes, but unless you look at their books and see how much exactly they've gotten each year, there's really no way for us to know what numbers they're turning in are correct anyway.
Right. Okay.
And I don't know, there's no mechanism for us to cross-reference it with the state. The state will not give us those records.
Okay.
We have tried that before to see who was paying in sales tax on overnight rentals, to where we could cross-reference it with who is paying us, and then look at the numbers. But they won't share that information, and so we just kind of have to almost go one step at a time, and really go a lot on the honor system. As long as they provide a report each month by law. We do look at that. We do look at those, and if it's in the middle of the summer and we know it's a pretty good business, and they've turned in, $100 worth of occupancy tax, we're like, yeah, I don't know if that's correct or not. So we kind of question it as we get them.
Right. If I had a bed and breakfast and was not paying, and Danny had a bed and breakfast and was not paying with the county, now I would probably try to slough off on the county. With the state, I don't think I would. And so that's what I'm saying, is there a way to reference that account at the state level, where the state is saying, yes, we are getting money from them. And that's it. That's all that we would want from them, just to double check.
I will see if there's a mechanism.
Okay.
And I've got a resource. We have a sales tax auditor that we use about every 4 or 5 years, and I'll have him come in. He actually is supposed to come in June anyway, and I'll ask him if he's got any resources at Department of Revenue, because we actually audited Lowe's one time when we didn't think we were getting money from Lowe's, which it was point of destination, so they should be charging Swain County taxes. So there may be. I'll have to check with him to see if we can isolate.
And that's all I'm asking, just, is there a possible mechanism where we can double check? So
The software just tracks who's renting. It's not gonna tell you how many nights or nothing like that. So you find out somebody, you look back and hasn't paid anything for a few years, has been renting for 2 or 3 years. How do you go about trying to recoup anything from that?
It would take litigation probably to get back taxes, because you wouldn't know how much it was. But technically, by law, a county can go back 5 years because it'd be discovery. And I guess once we get the software and see the types of functions it can do, then we might can go back and try something like that.
Yeah, I was curious how, they're talking about a lot of money out there we're missing. And I guess the idea is, well, once we contact those people, they'll start paying.
Right.
But that's not a given.
No.
So it's really, I still don't understand how that's gonna recover all of what they say they can recover.
well, if there's 700 persons, 700 units basically at this point, 700 people, how long have they been existing, and how long have they not paid taxes?
Right. Now the 700 is only what we've not been able to identify at the tax office for the solid waste fee.
Okay.
Which we're
Okay.
working.
So that may be different than the,
Yeah, oh yeah. I think a majority of them are paying us for the occupancy tax. I think that's, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry
Okay.
about that.
No, that's fine.
So we're just trying to still isolate who's paying what over at in the real estate, the solid waste piece. And it comes down to the Airbnb or VRBOs. They only give us a check, and they don't give us who actually they're paying for. So like we may, in a month's time, we may get a check for $30,000. We have no idea who that's for.
Mm.
And a lot of these, especially mom and pops now, are just going through a VRBO or Airbnb, and then and they think everything's good, And then we've had isolated incidents where you have like a management company, and they'll pay, give one check. They give us who they paid for, and then, but we just kind of file that in our report, but it may just say, I don't know, Nana's Cabin. Doesn't say who the owner is, just Nana's Cabin, whatever the name of the cabin is. And then, like we had a taxpayer come in and had been paying double. They'd been paying over here, and then they'd also be coming in making sure that they'd paid double. So we ended up having to reimburse them on that side. So there's different circumstances,
Sure.
I guess.
Right.
But I think with this software, it's gonna help us isolate a lot of those, and especially the deficiencies in how we're collecting. And one of the big things in this budget year is we're redesigning the website, the county website, to include 5 different ways to pay online occupancy tax, real estate taxes, inspection fees, everything you should be able to do online on our website. And so, and we're doing it, utilizing Liquid Spark. Julie Thorner actually is gonna be doing the website this year. But, so we're engaging in all aspects of that. So I think it's gonna be a lot better, and once we get this software, we'll be able to
Right.
do a lot
Well,
more.
it sounds like it, yeah,
So,
sounds like it.
So the persons you have, are they dedicated to just this, or is that just a side?
it's just a part of what we do. So, yeah, Sheldon Calhoun she's basically a accounting tech one, I believe, but she's also the assistant finance officer position. She's in charge of the accounts receivable piece and then also room tax. So that's really, between those two, that's all she does.
Okay.
So.
Of the 8 employees, proposed new employees, what happened out at the, with Scotty?
I'll say, so currently in the budget, there is 1 employee for sanitation. He did indicate at that meeting, the last one, that the rest of y'all were there, he could make it do with a part-time
Part-time.
position. So I think probably we should just start out with a part-time position and then do another, sit-down meeting with them halfway through the budget year to see how it's going. To see what the, if it needs to be bumped up to a different one. I don't know, I don't think the board actually got the questions they were asking answered, if you know what I mean. I think that, and I didn't really get the answers either. From my understanding, the way it was presented was, and it was all based upon Wednesday afternoon, you had an overlap. And basically, it's where you have that extra 4 hours for those people, for that one guy to be on Sunday. But I think the comment was, and I think we did get him down to this, there's not 2 people at the convenience site between 11 and 2 or 10 and 2. That person is more than likely down at the recycling center where it's a lot busier. And I think that's what didn't come out, but that's what is actually happening. Even though they're allocated as a convenience site worker or whatever, and they're double booked up there, they're not actually up there. So I think he's using them down below. But all this time he's been saying, oh yes, the busiest time of day is between 10 and 2, but I don't think that's accurate. I think it's probably busier at the site, at the recycling center, but it's not busier at the convenience site. And that's what I gathered from the conversation. So, but I think we do need to get him back and talk more about it. But so I would recommend just putting in a part-time position and working with it that way.
So this budget asked for the part-time position, just the one, part-time.
Correct.
Will this part-time position actually be a full-time position? Will this person be going from there to somewhere else to get the rest of their hours? Or is it truly a part-time position?
It's truly a part-time position.
Okay.
Are those hard to staff?
Not for a convenience site worker or a recycler, I don't think. I think, a lot of times we can get retired individuals that just want a part-time type of position. It's already got benefits other places. A lot of people just want to do that. And so we can try it, we can see if we get what kind of response we get with a part-time position. And if there's a problem, we can definitely explore it again after the budget cycle's over. After next year starts.
Right,
So.
yeah. Any other questions? No questions. Okay, what else do we need to do?
That's all I have. That's all we need to talk about was the fees, the actual expenditures, and that's pretty much it.
Okay. Can you give me an estimated time when you will have the new software in place? Where you will be able to begin figuring out what's going on and come back to us and let us know what the software is doing that we're not getting done now.
Okay, you're talking about the occupancy tax, right?
Yes, I
Yeah.
am. I'm sorry.
Yes. It's gonna be July 1st before that's fully implemented. So right now, our staff they've been doing meetings with the software provider, so it's gonna take that long to get.
Okay,
it
that's fine. I was just wondering
Yeah.
if you had an idea about when we could learn what it's doing and what we need to
Yeah.
know or
Yeah.
not know.
Yeah, hopefully by July 1st.
Okay, good.
And we'll know an exact number for the property taxes, hopefully by June the 1st. So
Oh, good, okay.
that's when I'm gonna present. So maybe the first week in June,
So
we can call the meeting.
So it appears at this point that we can go another fiscal year without raising taxes.
Correct. The valuation's changing, but the tax rate is recommended to stay the same,
Okay.
so.
And the valuation seems what's confusing people on that particular issue.
Yeah. So, and we will have to submit at the same time, every time during a revaluation year, you submit a break even,
Mm-hmm.
which is basically your projected, whatever it was last year. So, in our case, it's around $800,000 or $900,000 difference, because you take out your payment load taxes for your TVA, which is also factored on your tax rates. You have to take that out, and then based on that, you'll project a number, and a break even will probably it's going to be less than 36 cents. I'll just go ahead and tell you, because so I'm gonna have to say that the break even number would be, if it's 35 or 34, whatever it is, and I'll do the projection before that time. So if you said we're going to operate on no more revenue at all, we're going to keep it like it is, break even, we have to project a number. So, and that is by statute. So,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, you have to tell them at that time. So.
I am, in the back of my mind, it's not up front yet, but in doing the taxes and doing the evals, I'm wondering about gentrification in some of these communities. And how can we catch that, and if possible, how could we even circumvent it?
There's not really a good way to do that, because at the end of the day, your responsibility as a county government is to make sure we have competent appraisers that know the market, that are licensed by the state of North Carolina to go out and do a fair and equitable mass appraisal. And I use the word mass because
Right.
it's not, they don't go in the houses. They don't know if you got tile floors or whatever. They go from the outside only. They look at the material your outside is, what your roof's made out of, the square footage. If you got decks, they stick all that in a system, and it goes by sales. And so, according to the state of North Carolina and to the appraiser that we hired, our sales ratio is right on it. And that, as far as a government and an organization, that's what our responsibility is just to get it as fair and equal as possible. Some of the neighborhoods, this is why we have a board of NR. If there's inequities with people's home values, we encourage them to go to the Board of Equalization Review and to let them adjust, if need be, their value. And I'm not sure even neighborhoods, when different neighborhoods are brought up, how they justify different figures for different folks. Like if you own a piece of property, like say next to Fontana Lake Estates, is yours value based on their sale figures, or is that a different neighborhood? Where is the neighborhood lines at? I mean, there's all kinds of variables, but at the end of the day, we have to rely upon licensed, certified people to give us these numbers and to go through this process, and we have. And so I feel comfortable. We have to go through that process, and then the taxpayer always has the ability to go before the Board of ENR, and if they don't like that, they can go to the state of North Carolina. And then they are the ultimate, appellate court, I guess is what you'd say, through the process. So, but I feel good about the process. Specific properties, it's all subjective. It's all going to be based on that appraisal. So.
I've sent a couple people to what the board in, or they asked me what to do, and that's what I said. You go down there, fill your case.
Yep. Because
even I thought there's something off on that, and I was a little high. So, and they went, and they did, and they appealed it, and they were right. I mean, they didn't go all the way down to what it was last tax appraisal, but it was a justifiable tax increase. And I think pretty much everybody knows it's going to increase. Yeah. And I think as long as it's something that's not outrageous, I think everybody's pretty settled with that.
Well, I think we're getting to the point, and I'm pleased that this year we don't have to do it, but we've got to, the revals and the property tax costs and that kind of stuff, we're on the cusp, as I see it right now, and we're going to have to, as people say, bite the bullet and take a real serious look at it.
Yeah.
In my community, where I've been living peaceably and not bothering anybody, Kadua is putting in those 11 houses. And some of the older homes up there, I would think, with those new houses going in, is going to lose value. Gain value, and without them even doing anything to their house. And that equals gentrification. And so that's what I've got in the back of my mind, is how we approve some of these new developments that are going on, who is around them, and who is living in an old home from the family, that's come down through the family. So anyway, I'm just talking now. I'm just saying that that's been a concern of mine, and I have to think on it some more before we get to that point. But we've got to do something. So
the one good thing is any new homes that are being developed now are not, that neighborhood has not been affected by it yet, and won't be, because you're talking about whatever is of January 1st, 2021.
Right.
So anything prior to that.
Right.
Is the piece now. And I mean, I've got different, Peggy might be telling me a different thing. My perception on revaluation is, I don't necessarily think that we're ready to go to a 4-year in-house appraisal, and my recommendation is not to do that. My recommendation would be still to do what the state, by law, says we have to do, which is 8-year evaluation.
The 8 years.
And I would say stick with that number, because it is, and I would also, this is probably not her recommendation either, but I would also recommend us, based on this last reevaluation and the one before, I think next time we should get a third-party company to do it and not do it in-house. And that's my recommendation going forward. And I know that's gonna be a different discussion for a different day, but not necessarily in the budget this year.
Right.
But I think we need to have that conversation to get
And
going.
I would agree with that. I think we need to have that conversation so we know where it's going, where it's headed, what we're looking at.
Right.
And that way we're not caught off guard.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Can you say
Well-
the tax rate for most was in an average of around 20%? The increase on, I think that was thrown around at one time. You'd expect your
Yeah.
property,
Yeah, so it was 1.54, I believe, billion, and now it's at 1.868. So the difference between those two is the rate, and so that's, you know, roughly 300,000 of 1.8, which is going to be 24%
Mhm.
roughly.
so
Okay.
the expected is around 20%, give or take.
Yeah.
Some up, some down, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah,
It's a big variable.
but overall about 20%.
Overall, about 20, I think mine was right around 20%.
And even with a 36 tax rate, you're still within the top 10 lowest in the state of North Carolina. So,
Okay, let me ask you this before we continue this discussion. By law, we're on a special session.
Yep.
And we had two issues. One was the contracts and the other is the budget. Would this fit under that? Could we defend ourselves by saying all of these other side conversations would fit under this?
if it's dealing with money,
Okay,
yep, anything dealing with money, which most everything does, we
Okay.
can have
Right.
different discussions about
right,
it.
right. Okay, I just wanted to make sure before we continue. So,
With that said, I do have a couple more talking about different things for next year. One, going back to our kind of a discussion or a start of it with the new federal funding that's coming down and
Right.
developing projects and things like that. So we've had different conversations about sewer and water projects for several years now. And the only problem with all of that is you got to be identified through DENR as far as a need for an unsewered area. So like, for instance, we'd have to have documented proof through DENR that there's issues like in the Jackson Line community, or if you want to go back up to the Bryson Branch and finish that one out, or if you want to go to the ELA, you have to have documented things to DENR to be able to access the federal money. So my thought was, and this is just a thought that I had today, was since the town has issues with expanding their plant, or, you know, and they're working toward it with a, you know, with the big loan that they got, some of this money could be utilized to withhold, kind of like we did with TWASA, to withhold some gallons per day of usage for a certain amount of money. So if you want to allocate some of the funding for that we're getting in, that's federal, you know, I'm saying $700,000 or $750,000 worth of money, and basically help the town increase their capacity for a certain amount of capacity to be used for future projects. And we'll go back to the conversations we've had about, well, we, you know, in negotiations with the town and discussions with the town, you know, they can't really say they're going to have capacity. But as long as we stick with the stipulations that, you know, any project we do is sewer and water, which is their new criteria, and if we go ahead and buy capacity to help them with their plant, and that was their files with the U.S. Treasury money coming down, I think it's going to be win-win for everybody if we can't make these other sewer projects work out. And I think that's, so what are your thoughts as far as, Because it is an increased capacity issue. I mean, no matter what we do, no matter how many projects we come up with, if the town does not have capacity or Tuwassa doesn't have capacity, then we don't have a project. So it would be good maybe to look at some of those perspectives.
We had talked about Swain County becoming a water sewer itself
Right.
in order to hit some of these areas that have been avoided. What do we need to do? I mean, do we have at this point any concept of what kind of capacity we would need to do those?
It depends on geographically what areas you want to serve. So if you wanted to develop a plant somewhere yourself, it depends on if it's in the east or west. The west is challenging because of the different creeks. You know, if you say if you put it on Larker Creek, for instance, I think that's a class 1 trout water. A little bit different criteria on wastewater and that, but it's doable because the NOC does it.
Right.
So it is doable. It's just we'd have to go through a little bit more stipulations there. And if Alarka is where we're targeting that community, we would have to do a study on how many people and how far up and, you know, that sort of thing. So there'd be a lot of variables, I guess, there. You'd have to get an engineer to do a planning study or a feasibility study, and then we would go from that route on what we wanted to do. If you want to develop a plant, but now when you talk plants, you're talking, we'd start at least $5 million at least just to start one, depending on how big it is. So. But it is doable. If y'all want to do that, that's great. We can work on it, because I think, especially in our Larker community, with the density of population is getting denser, a lot of developments with tie on. I think it would be a good thing.
Well, we have some advantages if we were to do it and get some of these outlying communities. Just in fire tax and insurance and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I would like to just begin thinking about it, just simply because they can come back with an argument that we're not serving their community.
Right.
And so we say that we're serving all of the county, and so we need to start looking at some of those things. It's just so that we have a response to them of, you want $7 million for the library, and we couldn't do that. How we're going to come up with $10 million to move water up in that area. So I think we just need to start some discussions about it. Okay. Anything else? Any questions? Any other questions?
Just one question, I can't remember. Was there anything budgeted in this budget for the library expansion?
For the project itself, no. I thought we would take that up at a later time.
I couldn't remember, I was just one.
Yeah. We did go over there and we did look at if our crew were to do specific projects, like to increase, the footprint, which we can do. We do have our crews spread out a lot right now, and I didn't want to overcommit. I know for next year, we didn't want to overcommit them because we've got several things that is in the pipeline. Didn't know the dialogue we're going to have with the TDA on the fly fishing museum. A lot of different stuff going on. So I just didn't want to overcommit on the library, but we can definitely have another conversation about it.
Yeah, well, they will be coming into they're under the assumption that they're going forward with those plans and getting architect's drawings and getting all that done. Spending a lot of money.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Danny, do you know from the plans that they originally brought to us to what they're gonna look at in some other avenue, how much of a reduction in cost and what they're requesting from us? Do you know what that looks like?
I don't remember what the numbers were on it. It was a lot less, I mean, it wasn't anywhere near the original, I mean, you know, like building, it's still, it's almost doubling the size of that, not
Yeah.
quite doubling the size of that building, I don't think. I forgot what square footage
We,
it was.
we had talked about, when we went over there, you know, architects have big dreams as far as looking forward. I do think that, the building as it currently stands, there can be a lot of modifications in different phases, you know, over a multi-year period that's gonna help them out as far as square footage. We talked about, and I took our crew over there, Bobby Jenkins, and he, you know, we talked about adding onto the back part first, expanding that area. We talked about expanding on the street side, I think on Rector Street, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then, no, that's, Frymont.
Academy?
Frymont,
Oh.
that one going
Okay.
up toward Frymont there.
Gotcha.
And then we talked about making the one big section in the front, as like phase 3, which is the bigger piece that our crew probably couldn't do. The back sides, I think we can do. The front side, and I'm gonna call it pomp and circumstance, but it's just, it would be more of a, all glass structure, you know, hip roof type of look to the front of it. I mean, it would look very good, I think, with the concept drawings that he had. But I think that y'all need to just see the concept piece, and it would actually flow really good, I think, going
Of
through.
our crew adding to that building,
Mhm.
how much additional footage could we give them?
You could over double what they
With
have.
what our crews can do?
If you do it in phases. If we did the back section first, and then the side section, and then you would have to bid out the front section, it would go over our limit.
Oh,
and-
sure, I
and
understand that.
expertise, But yeah, with all three of those together, yes, you could double it.
Okay, but my question, with what our crews can do, how much additional footage could we give them?
Oh.
They may
just
not like the
yeah.
look of the building, but how much
Um,
additional footage could we give them?
What was that, 12? I'm thinking between 4 and 5,000 square feet more, just what our crew can do. And then we can do some modifications inside that's gonna make it flow better,
Right.
and then leave the big piece in the front, which is the biggest one.
I have personally not seen, but maybe someone else has, a redesign of the inside of that building. As you say, the flow is very necessary in that.
Well, I think right now what they're coming up with is 2 or 3 different versions of the whole project. With the entrance here, and the entrance over here, how would that look? So I think that's what they're working on right now.
We talked
We'll
about
eventually be
increased
able to see
parking, along the back part. That's where we did some soil boring, where we could figure out if we could if they could put a wall up there and have parking along that one front side.
If indeed Skyways put in a computer area for the public,
Mhm.
that would free up some space up at the library, which would also almost demand a revamp of the flow that they have there. So do we know where we are on that?
No, what he's referring to is we might have a possibility of putting a computer lab for the public on Main Street with the building once we sell the Chamber of Commerce building, if that's what the direction we're going.
It was part of the
there's-
discussion.
Yeah, there's opportunity to have a computer lab on Main Street for the public. And if that be the case, and if the library kind of goes along with that concept, then they may not need as much computer space at the library,
Mhm.
which would be more curriculum or more, you know, circulation, I think is what they call it.
Right.
Circulation desk. So, I mean, it's just, all of those are discussion pieces for how we move forward and that sort of thing.
Their existing building's 9,291 square feet, and the additions that they're looking at will raise that to 15,061. It's not actually doubling the space, but gaining an additional 6,000 square feet.
But also
About the additions.
2,500 of that is Fontana Regional of the 9,000. So actually, they're only in 7,000 square feet now. The
They
library.
weren't counting that in this.
Yeah, I think that's where the numbers come from.
Mhm.
Because it would double their size, what they are.
Have I misunderstood somewhere along the way? I thought Fontana Regional was moving.
If this concept goes, they're being absorbed. So they're not doing, the bookmobile's going, they're not gonna do the bookmobile anymore. And then the positions will be absorbed between the three libraries. So we're gonna keep IT, which doesn't take much space. It's gonna take, I think from 2,500 down to like 500, I believe.
Yeah, 7.
And that's it. And then so the remainder is gonna be coming back
Usable space.
to usable space.
Hmm.
So they will be over, they will be doubling their size of
Of the
usable
existing
space.
usable library.
I just had another thought, and it is just a thought. If the school would be interested in the library bus, the bookmobile, and we could outfit it with, broadband for various communities, and use it for that, or just use it for the communities if we were to absorb it.
See what
And-
they're doing with it.
Well, we can look at it. I mean, it's just a idea. So that they really wouldn't be losing, I mean, we wouldn't have the books in it, but we could put a hotspot out in the communities, you know, let it circulate as well. So, anyway, okay. Anything else for the good of the order?
Oh, one other thing, let me see, an email, hope everybody got it, or I think you should have. Wait, if I can find it here. Beth Friedrich from Speaker Moore's office, wanting to set up a meeting with us, on Friday, June the 4th at 10 a.m. in this room. Has anybody contacted you? It was, it went to everybody. Says it did. It's about, she's from the economic development part. She'd like to propose a meeting, planning on driving up from Raleigh.
Oh, is
And
it
want to
Beth?
meet from people
Is
from
it-
the town and from the county.
Is it Beth?
Beth Friedrich,
Yeah, no, she's got it here, the June the 4th,
yeah.
week Friday, yeah.
As in, but I mean, we haven't discussed, she asked that some of the leaders be there.
Oh, okay. I didn't know y'all got, I think, is that the one you mentioned, Roger?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want, I think she just said the RSVP, and I just assumed everybody's RSVP, and so I didn't respond.
Yeah, Mike Clement sent one and, you know, said to make all attempts to attend this meeting
Yeah,
and be very
That's the
helpful
one
for
I've
Swain
got.
County.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
hers
the
came
one.
before that, but then he sent that one out.
okay. Anyway, she's gonna be here, and more the merrier, so at 10 o'clock.
But now, we couldn't have more than 3 here unless it's an advertised meeting, correct?
Correct, and we can advertise if you want to, just, I mean. it's- I'll take
Depends
it.
on, you know, I don't think it'd be
Can
something we'd all.
you tell me again what it is?
It is,
I've not seen it obviously.
let's see.
I've not looked at it, obviously.
See more. Says she'd like to discuss with you a potential rural travel pilot program that they're working on here at the General Assembly with Airbnb. The pilot is being targeted at counties that have experienced population loss over the past year, resulting in loss to the local tax base.
So where they're getting that loss in population is because there've been more people selling out and more, doing more like with, tourism. And so more of our tax bills are actually going outside the county because they own them, but they don't own them. So I think that's what they're geared toward, but I'm not sure, they've not provided me any statistics on it, and so, but I'm gonna shoot it, let me go ahead and forward all this again to you.
Mr. Chairman, I answered her email saying, she offered 3 dates, I believe. I answered her email saying all 3 were good for me, and I think then she responded back that the Friday. So that was her choice. So I think as far as, I thought that everybody had responded, so I have it down in my calendar to be here Friday before.
I will look for it. Well, if you will resend yours to me, I would appreciate it.
I just sent it to you.
Oh, okay, thank you.
She's from Speaker Moore's.
Yeah, I saw that, Tim Moore.
She's under Speaker Moore, so she's the Economic Development Policy Advisor and Deputy General Counsel for the Office of Speaker Tim Moore.
Just for everyone's information, I've been in touch with Kenneth, and he had some personal business he needed to take care of. He thought he would be here at 4. Obviously, he is not, and I just got a note from him saying he won't make it today. So, just for everyone's information.
You sure you sent that again to us?
I sent it to Ben, did you need to see?
No, I got it. I'm trying to figure it out, because there's one emails I'm not getting for some reason.
Oh.
I got one from Mike about it, but I didn't get one from her about it. That's what was out.
Yeah, she sent that one, and then later on, the response came from Mike, but kind of tagged with the same email.
Of course, I get a lot of emails of people that's gonna give me millions of dollars. that
Yeah.
They feel that I could be trusted with. So,
Yeah, yeah. I've been getting a lot of those emails.
Yeah.
You lucky
dog.
Just please respond.
But I gotta go buy some gift cards first, so.
Exactly.
Okay, anything else? Gentlemen, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll
Make a
that
motion. Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second on the floor. Everybody in favor, please raise your right hand. We are so adjourned, and unanimous decision by those present. Okay, thank you, guys.